today I want to show you some really cool new stamp products that just came out. I was just at the Orlando Stamp and Scrap Expo and these were featured in one of the booths. And as you see, they are animation stamps. To make a card with these stamp sets, you're going to need not only the stamps that come in the set, but you will also need animation grids, which you can buy in packs of 5. And then you have to choose your image. In this case, I am going to feature the butterfly. For this card, I am going to make the base out of a white 100-pound cardstock. It's actually a 110-pound cardstock from Michaels. It's a nice heavy cardstock that is great for backings of cards because it doesn't necessarily have the best quality to stamp on, but it does make your card have more of a professional finish when you're done because of the weight. I am also going to use some Graphics 45 paper, and this sheet here has a lot of wild flower pattern, and I think that a butterfly in the center of that is going to look nice. And then I need something to cut out the center. In this case, I'm going to use these framelits from Stampin' Up! To do my center. I used it on this card as well. It gives you an outline like this. So the first thing you're going to do is cut your paper in half. Cut this paper down to size 1/4 of an inch shorter or smaller than the rest. Now I recommend always making more than one card. If you're going to cut a piece of paper in half, you might as well make 2 cards. Same with this. So I've cut these down so that they're going to have a border about like this. However, I like to have more than one border, so I'm going to pick a color that will complement this. Now for borders, I like to cut them very, very thin. This is only 1/8 bigger than the actual paper itself. As you can see, there's barely any border. Okay, so next part, we need to cut out this center image. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut them together with the smaller of the 2 framelits. Using my magnetic platform, I'm going to cut them at the same time. So now I'm going to remove this piece, and I'm only going to cut this piece the second time using the next larger frame. Alright. At this point I'm going to glue these together. I love this art glitter glue. I buy it through Heartfelt Creations. And it is amazing. It holds everything so well and it dries very fast. In seconds, this will be dry. Now to make these cards that have movement, you have to have somewhere that you've attached a piece of the pack stamped image to something that moves. Alright, so I've taken my 6-inch animation grid, cut it in half to 3 inches, and I'm going to then attach that to the back of my opening here. I don't really know if there's a front or back, but one side is definitely more smooth, so I like the smooth side to be what is facing out. I'm just going to put a little bit of this glue around here. This stuff holds everything, so it seems to work for this just fine. And you do want to make your grid straight, and it helps when you've got these points here because you can kind of see if it is straight. So the next step is making the hole. Now I like to use the word window punch. It's an old punch that used to be sold by Stampin' Up! However, there are other ways to do it. Always punch upside down and you can kind of see where am I at. I want to make sure that I've got enough space here to still put some foam on the side, and then you punch it through when you're ready. Now, what if you don't have one of these punches and you still need to make this? You can just take your paper cutter, two lines like this, and make a square or a rectangle. That would work too. You just need to have some kind of an opening that your stamped image behind is going to be able to move around in. Now the next step is going to be cutting a piece of paper that is large enough to fit over the window and over this window punch. Now remember how I just said a couple of minutes ago that I don't like to stamp on the 110-pound cardstock from Michaels? There are exceptions to that rule, and this is one of them. If I'm going to make a card that's going to have movement, I want something strong enough that's going to hold up, and I'm a little worried that using a lighter paper might break down with a lot of playing with it, especially knowing that this kind of a card is going to be something kids are going to love to play with. I just don't want it to get ruined right away. So to figure out what size piece you need, you lay your paper down, and what you want to make sure is that it's going to cover this hole down here that you've made. It's going to be tall enough that it will not go over the top of that or below the top of that. And you want to make sure that when you move it from side to side, you're not seeing this. It's not necessarily the end of the world because it's white and the background is also white, but I just like it to be covered the whole time. So in this case, right about here will be plenty. But I want to also make sure, because I'm going to put a thin piece of foam here, it's going to hit that foam, it's going to be right about there. So I also want to make sure that it is just narrow enough that I can get that movement. Choosing an ink for this. Pick something that goes with your background. In this case, orange or green is going to work. I'm going to go with orange. I think it'll be brighter and it'll show up better through the card. So I am going to use pumpkin pie. It's one of the colors I happen to have. A lot of these foam pads I've noticed are drying out. And this Distress Refresher works great on them. Spray it a couple of times, close up the pad, let it sit, and within 5 minutes your pad will be nice and juicy and ready to go again. Alright, so I didn't even let it sit for 5 minutes. It didn't take long at all. I tested it out on a piece of paper that was scrap paper, and now I'm going to move over to my actual image, which you do want to stamp straight, because this is not going to work if your image is tilted sideways. So it has to be parallel with what is here. So I'll test it out and see. And it seems to work just fine. So the next thing I need to do on this card is I need to use some kind of a foam tape. Doesn't have to be expensive, and it doesn't need to be very wide. Here I have cut this in half, and I'm going to put it as far over as I can on both sides. And there we have it. So that this can move back and forth as much as possible. I'm also going to put a small piece on the bottom and the top. I'm actually going to make them really small pieces, and they're really just to hold the card in so it doesn't fall out of the sides. Okay. All right. Then we need a Pop Dot dimensional foam circle. They're called different things. These are Recollections brand. I like these ones because they are nice and circular. There's a medium size that's perfect. I'm going to turn over my card and see exactly where this is centered. Okay, and I'm just going to set this down in the middle like this. Now I've got what I'm going to attach something to move this back and forth. At this point, you just want to peel off and if you have really cheap stuff like I have here, it'll peel off a little goofy, but that's okay. You're going to take your card back, the original piece we cut, and fold it in half. Turn this over and attach that down. Ah, I did it a little bit crooked. This movement works really well. It's not catching on anything. If it does, you can always adjust the foam a little bit, pull it up, move it up higher. It should slide pretty nicely, and you want to make sure that it will move for you. Okay. All right, now it's time to put something on here to move back and forth. There's a lot of choices for something like that. I could do something small like a flower, a small butterfly. In this case, I have this fun set called A Round Array, and it just happens to have some fun little sayings in here. One that's K is for kindness. Maybe I'll make this be a thank you card. So I'm going to go ahead and attach this on here. Go back to my and then I am going to use a 7/8 inch punch. Now I punched this on the 110-pound cardstock again for the same reason I've done all the rest, and that's for the strength and durability. I really want this to last. I don't want it to bend right away. So with something a little bit stronger like this, that will help a lot. Put this down on here. And there we have it. Now you have your slider to go back and forth. And you could stop there. That would be fine. It could be a perfectly nice card to give someone. They would be amazed. It's so much fun. I think that I'm going to add maybe a couple of flowers here. I'm going to see what I have. See if I can find something fun to add over in the corner just to give it a little bit more. Alright, so I found something fun. I found a butterfly die that I forgot I had. So let's give this a try. Alright, we have some butterflies. Cute little butterflies. I'm going to take these and I'm going to add them to my project. Thanks for watching.